Okay, once again, good morning to one and all. And today, yes, my PPT is visible to all. One say yes, then unmute, then mute yourself.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so mute yourself. Once again, good morning to one and all present here in the class 10E online session. And today I am going to discuss about the chapter number 2 that I have already explained it earlier in the offline class to you. And so I'm going to explain it in the online class also because I have prepared a very beautiful PPT, PowerPoint presentation of the chapter Nelson Mandela, A Long Walk to Freedom. Okay, the first is the slide about the chapter, about the title of the chapter, and the second one. The second one is about the Nelson Mandela. It has been written here about Nelson Mandela. The full name of Nelson Mandela was Nelson Rohilala Mandela. Was born in Transkei, South Africa on July 1918. His first name could be interpreted prophetically as troublemaker by the white man, by the Britishers, by the English persons. English persons told him the troublemaker of the kingdom of Britishers at that time when the rule of white people was there in South Africa. Like India also, before 1947 in India, the rule of Britishers is also prevailed here in our country. And now the Nelson Mandela added letter by a teacher. And here it is a prediction. Prediction means, do you predict, do you think Nelson Mandela lived up to his name as a troublemaker? According to you, is it good? Is it correct? Lived up to his name as a troublemaker? According to us, according to me, according to my opinion, it is not good. It is not correct. He was talking, he was fighting for his black people of South Africa against white people, against Britishers. He was fighting against Britishers regarding the right and yes, regarding the right of the black people of Africa. And now the next slide. In the next slide, yes, third slide number 3. Growing up during apartheid. Apartheid, I have already explained the meaning of apartheid to you. Can anyone tell me about the meaning of apartheid? If you want to speak, you can unmute your audio and mute your video also. Mute your video also if you want to explain the answer, if you want to give the meaning of the word apartheid, then you can unmute. I have already explained it to you. I have already told it to you in my offline class. Apartheid means the racial discrimination. Discrimination according to the color. Discrimination according to white and black in the South Africa prevailed at that time. In India also there is the discrimination before 1947 between white and black people. White people means all the Britishers. Black people means we Indians, like that the people of South Africa. Here it is explained in the chapter. Mandela, basically Nelson Mandela grew up on cattle herding. Cattle herding means not in good condition. He was he was belonged from a very poor family. He was not a pampered child, and so he grew up on cattle herding farm until the death of his father. Mandela then lived with a powerful relative, the acting regent of the Himbu people. And after the death of his father, he lived with his relative. And he was acting regent of Thambu people. He was a powerful man. When after his father died, when he was living with his relatives, years of daily exposure to the inhumanities of apartheid means this thing already prevailed, and it hurts a lot to the Nelson Mandela. It hurts him very deeply and it shocked him. So he was fighting against apartheid at the time in South Africa for the black people of South Africa against Britishers, where being black reduced one to the status of non-person, means black reduced, black debarred from the real right of his in his own country. Black people was debarred by the people, by the Britishers, by the white people, by the Englishmen in his own country, in his own state, and in his own state. So he was fighting. So Nelson Mandela was fighting against Britishers regarding the right, rule, ritual system of black people in South Africa. And they kindled in him a kind of absurd courage to change the world. And so he had some courage to change the world. So he is he stood up to fight against the Britishers regarding regarding the right and freedom of black people of South Africa. Now in the next slide, in 1942, he completed his law degree from the university in South Africa. In 1942, he completed his law degree in the university in South Africa. In 1952, he became the deputy national president of African National Congress Party. One party was formed in Africa. The name of the party was African National Congress Party, and in 1952, he became the deputy national president of the party, deputy chief of the party. Now, slide number 5. The passive resistance to apartheid. A passive resistance. What is the meaning of passive resistance? Can anyone write in chat box? The meaning of passive resistance. Can anyone tell me the meaning of passive resistance? Passive resistance meaning is here the peaceful protest. I think you have heard the meaning, you have heard the word peaceful protest. And at that time in South Africa, a peaceful protest, Sagar Sajal. Okay, just I have already explained. No need to write and no need to explain. I've already explained better. And now listen. Peaceful protest to apartheid. At first, Nelson Mandela opted for non-violence as a strategy to defeat apartheid. Apartheid means racial system, color system, discrimination between black and white in South Africa. He became involved in programs that fought against the laws that forced black to carry passes. So he, and after that, after 1952, he involved in the movement. He involved in the peaceful protest of the South African people, black people, regarding his right, regarding his rule, regarding his freedom. He already participated in the movement. He already participated in the programs where the black is already raising their voice against white people regarding their right in his own country. So he participated in all that type of programs where the black people raised their voice against Britishers regarding the right, regarding the discrimination between black and white. And after the 1952, that was his main work and the main duty to do. And the page, in the next slide, persecution. Despite the peaceful protest, the government decided to charge protesters at one event of treason. Despite the peaceful protest, government charged the cases on them. Government charged the cases on them is government already charged cases on them those who have obsessed their peaceful protest against Britishers regarding their right. अपने अधिकार के लिए उन लोगों के प्रोटेस्ट को भी गवर्नमेंट ने एंटी गवर्नमेंट बताया और उन लोगों के ऊपर केस डाल दिया. So government charged cases on them, on Nelson Mandela also, including Nelson Mandela. The trial dragged on for 5 years. और वो the trial continued till 5 years until 1961. Until 1961, the trial session of that case was going on there in South Africa, ending in the acquittal of all 156 accused. Mandela was a free man and the sort of the accused persons. After 5 years trial, all 156 accused was free from court, and Mandela was a free man, the sort of, with all 56 persons. 156 कैंडिडेट के ऊपर केस थे, पर्सन के ऊपर केस थे, उसमें नेल्सन मंडेला भी एक थे. 5 साल के ट्रायल के बाद उन लोगों को गवर्नमेंट कोर्ट ने छोड़ दिया उस पीसफुल प्रोटेस्ट के कारण जो चार्ज लगाया गया था बाय द गवर्नमेंट. अंडरस्टैंड? And the persecution. But by the time Mandela was acquitted, but Mandela was not alone at the time in South Africa. All the black people was behind him. All the black people of South Africa was behind him with Nelson Mandela against Britishers. Even the old, young, child, all the people are there. Already you have seen in the picture. Already you are seeing. With slogans, small kids, girls, boys, elders, youngers, old, young, all were there in the persecution. All were there in the protest programs, anti-Britishers program. But by the time Mandela was acquitted, South Africa had been convulsed by the massacre of 69 peaceful black demonstrators at Sharpeville in March 1960. एक बड़ा सा मैसेकर. Do you know the meaning of massacre? Mass killing is called massacre. Mass killing is called massacre. Okay. And the 69 people were killed by the Britishers in 1960. And Mandela was the luckiest one, and so he was not in one of them. They were killed by the South African protesters. Britishers were killed all South African protesters. Britishers ने, British government ने जो भी protest करने वाले लोग थे, बड़े बड़े politicians थे, उन लोगों को social personalities को जेल में किसी और के कारण से उन्हें मार दिया गया, फांसी पे चढ़ा दी गई या किसी कारण से उन्हें सजा दे करके मार दिया. And Nelson Mandela, luckily, he was survived. And he continued that fight. That for that fight, all 69 people had already sacrificed their life. He continued the fight against Britishers regarding the right of the black people in South Africa. And he continued with the support of all black people of South Africa. Black people of South Africa blindly supported him regarding the fight, regarding this fight against their right. And he was also known as the Mahatma Gandhi of South Africa. And now you understood the position of him in South Africa. He was also known as the Mahatma Gandhi, the great person of South Africa. And with this, you can understand the position of him in South Africa. They were killed by the South African government who wanted to stop the resistance, stop the protest, stop the programs against government, against white government, against British government. And at that time in South Africa, British government was there. British government was in power. British government power में थी उस समय तक. All of them were innocent, peaceful protesters were killed or killed by the government, and all were put behind the bars by the government of white people, Britishers. And Nelson Mandela raised the voice of all innocent black people of South Africa with full determination and courage. So the fight, whole festive here is it's already shows the unity of black people. It shows the unity of South Africans. It means they are united on this point. They are united on this point against the Britishers. They are with the opinion of Nelson Mandela on this matter and issue. After the massacre of 69 people in 1960, the black South Africans were outraged more. Black South Africans peoples were outraged, and they already started a big protest against the South African government, against the white people government. Because many South Africans realized that peaceful protests and civil disobedience would not overturn apartheid, would not overturn the law of the government. And they thought that the peaceful protest is our right, so we are doing. And apart from that, they were killed 69 people in 1960. As a result, many turned into violence, and now the peaceful protest turned into violence in South Africa as a means to end the apartheid, as a means to end this color differentiation between black and white, differentiation between black and white in South Africa. So their peaceful protest converted into the violence. And what is your opinion on it? Do you think that violence is ever okay? Violence is good for them? Violence is never good. No result would come out from violence. Result would come out from peaceful protest. Yeah, result would come out from peaceful discussion, peaceful and positive discussion on the matter. According to me, according to the opinion of an intellectual one, is there ever a time when something is so bad, the violence is necessary? If it is something so bad, then violence is necessary or not? Or the violence never answer. According to me, violence never answer the question of a right thing or right place. Violence कभी भी किसी चीज का रिप्लाई नहीं बन सकता. Violence कभी भी किसी चीज का solution नहीं बन सकता. So the Nelson Mandela was also not in support to create violence. They wanted to make peaceful protest against white people like Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi was also the supporter of non-violence. Non-violence means anti-violence, जहाँ पे violence ना हो, मारपीट ना हो, non-violence. The government didn't stop. The white government, British government didn't stop. With the Sarville massacre के बाद भी वो नहीं रुके और वो कंटिन्यू करते गए. फिर कई लोगों को जेल में डाला, फांसी पे लटकाया, मारे. So government didn't stop the things. And the most liberation movement, including the African National Congress, were banned. Means this party were completely banned in South Africa. The movement, programs, protests were banned by the African National Congress in South Africa by the white government. Predict. It's an activity. Predict is an activity for you. What do you think Mandela did after the government banned his organization, the ANC? मतलब मंडेला उसके बाद क्या करेंगे? What he will do after the ban by the white government of South Africa to his party, African National Congress? What he will do? So he continued his peaceful protest with the black people without any party symbol. He continues his peaceful protest. And more than 40 years he was in jail. I think more than 40 years. He was in jail for this peaceful protest, for these peaceful protests of the for the black people of South Africa. Means he already faced a lot of problem for the people of South Africa. So he became the first black president of South Africa. when they will leave the country, when the Britishers had left the country of South Africa. And his party won 250 out of 400. 250 seats is complete win, a victory. Just you can say the landslide victory of the African National Congress in South Africa against British people. So what did Mandela do when his organization, the ANC, was banned by the government? What did Mandela do? क्या करेंगे? Well, he traveled to other countries to recruit people to join the ANC, a liberation organization, and he continued to organize resistance against apartheid. No, he continuously he worked in South Africa to just to make this program persons to make this party stronger. He continuously worked there in South Africa to raise the voice against Britishers or British people in South Africa, and already motivated the people of black people of South Africa to raise their voice against them, against white people. And again he started a big party, again he started a big movement, again he continued with the complete thousands and thousands of people were there in the support of him, and so he started the peaceful protest again after the ban. The jailed at Robben Island. Here it is one of the most important slide of this chapter. जैसे कि इंडिया में होता था कि पहले अंग्रेज लोग कहते थे कि काला पानी दे देते, तो काला पानी क्या होता था? काला पानी का मतलब होता था उन फ्रीडम फाइटर्स को, इंडिया के जो फ्रीडम फाइटर्स थे जिसको हम लोग कहते हैं, तो उन लोगों को ऐसे आइलैंड पे कैद कर देते थे, वहां पे जेल बना हुआ होता था अंग्रेजों का, ऐसे आइलैंड पे डाल देते थे जहाँ की जमीन से उस छोटे से आइलैंड का कोई कनेक्शन ही ना हो, खाने पीने की भी कोई सुविधा ना हो, आप वहीं पे जैसे खाओ पियो जिंदा रहो या मर जाओ, ऐसे आइलैंड पे ले जाके उन फ्रीडम फाइटर्स को छोड़ दिया करते थे। तो इन लोगों को भी वही किया करते थे। ये पॉलिसी थी ब्रिटिश पीपल की, अंग्रेजों की, व्हाइट पीपल की, और इन लोगों को रॉबिन आइलैंड पे जेल में डाल दिया करते। व्हेन मंडेला रिटर्न टू द कंट्री, जब वापस आए, ही वाज अरेस्टेड अगेन, जब वहां के जेल से वापस आए दोबारा इन्हें अरेस्ट कर लिया गया, एंड अवेटेड ट्रायल इन अ प्रिजन ऑन रॉबिन आइलैंड, फिर उन्हें ट्रायल के लिए डाल दिया गया दोबारा वहां पे। मंडेला वाज श्योर ही वुड बी सेंटेंस टू डेथ। सेंटेंस टू डेथ का मतलब मौत की सजा सुना देना। उसे ये एहसास था कि उसे मौत की सजा सुना दी जाएगी, उसे भी मार दिया जाएगा, like 69 people, like the great 69 leaders of African National Congress. And Mandela was prepared to die for his belief, and Mandela was already mentally prepared for his death. And the lines and sentences of Mandela is written here. Now it is a very motivative line. It's a very important line. You have to read it. During my lifetime, I have dedicated myself to the struggle of the South African people. This whole my life, I have struggled for the South African people. I have fought against with domination, and I have fought against black domination in South Africa. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society. Means he wanted a very free society in South Africa, in which all persons live together in harmony. मतलब जहां जहां सारे लोग डेमोक्रेसी में सब साथ साथ खुशी से रहे, and with equal opportunity, और पूरे समान अधिकार के साथ, with equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. But if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die. So it is an ideal state for me. So I am to die. I am going to die because the English people, the English government will just sentence me to death. English government, English court will sentence me to death. And this word of Nelson Mandela motivated a lot to the people of South Africa. And now in this slide, you can see the scene of jail, the life in prison. You can see. So nothing is there. Only a mat is there in the room, and a few utensils are there to survive, and nothing else. And now you can imagine what was the condition of that time, how they can survive, how they can survive in life for the country, a person. But Mandela was not executed. Instead, he was convinced of and sabotage and sentenced to life in prison. How would serve 27 years in prison before being released? 27 years, not 40, 27 years before being released. Most of his sentence was served in one teeny cell. मतलब एक छोटे से सेल में पूरी लाइफ 27 साल से ज्यादा की जिंदगी उन्होंने बिताई. The only time Mandela was let out of his cell was to perform black breaking labor. Back breaking labor. जब लेबर का काम उन लोगों से करवाया जाता था तभी तो उन्हें कैद से बाहर लाया जाता ना. The rest of the time he was in his small tiny cell prison. छोटे से अपने कमरे में हमेशा वो कैद रहना. Freedom is our lifetime. And so he was fighting always for the freedom and for the freedom of black people and for the freedom of South African people. So now some more slides are here. Now you can see the picture of Nelson Mandela when he was in jail. Could you do that? Could you do that for this country, for the country? No. It is not, because we are selfish now in the modern age. We are not going to die like that. We are not great as like as him, as like as our freedom fighters. So they were great and they did a lot for the country, did a lot for the people. And victories, and few dates are written here. Few dates are written here. In 1990, Mandela is released from prison. 1993, Mandela earns the Nobel Peace Prize. In 1993-1994, South Africa begins writing a draft for the new constitution. In 1994, South Africa started his own to drafting his own constitution. First multi-racial election. 1994 में पहला multi-racial मतलब कोई कलर डिस्क्रिमिनेशन नहीं, सबको इलेक्शन में पार्टिसिपेट करना है, सारे वोट डालेंगे जिसकी गवर्नमेंट बन जाए. एंड द फर्स्ट इलेक्शन पार्टी ऑफ मंडेला won with 250 seats out of 400. I have already explained in the chapter when I was talking, when I was teaching you the chapter in the class, in the offline class. I have explained. And so now, and this is the summary and gist of the chapter of Nelson Mandela. And in his inauguration speech, he expressed a very beautiful speech that motivated a lot to the people of South Africa. And that the whole world, the whole universe had seen the fight of the black people, fight for the black people of South Africa, and he became the first black president of South Africa. He was also known as the Mahatma Gandhi of South Africa. He was also known as the father of South Africa. Okay.